She thought she was protecting her computer from viruses, but instead, she ended up being the victim of a scam.
I can barely talk about it. I am afraid of opening emails.
Gail Barr had done everything right. She had spent decades in the medical field, first as a nurse, then as a nurse practitioner. She had built a career around steadiness, around knowing what to do when the pressure was high, and the stakes were real. She lived in Goodyear, Arizona, a quiet stretch of the Phoenix Valley where the streets run wide and the afternoons run long. She had recently come out of retirement, not because she wanted to, because her son needed medical treatments and the bills were not going to pay themselves. So she went back to work, picked up shifts, and started building her savings again. By October 2025, she had set aside $9,260, earned over the course of roughly a year and a half. It was not a fortune, but it was hers. It was specific. It was earmarked for something that mattered. And on October 15, the day she turned 70 years old, she showed up for a 3-hour shift, finished her work, and pulled out her phone to check her voicemail. She was expecting birthday messages. She got plenty. Family called, friends called. And somewhere between the warm voices of the people who loved her, there was one message that did not belong. The voicemail was formal, calm, direct. The voice identified himself as Chief Deputy Derek Elmore with the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. He said he was trying to reach a Miss Gail Barr. He said he had important legal documents from the Honorable Judge Jennifer Zips. He asked her to call back at a specific number. Gail did what most people would do. She looked up the names. Judge Jennifer Zips turned out to be a real Arizona judge. Derek Elmore had a real connection to law enforcement. That was the first layer. The names were real. The authority felt real. So she called back. The man on the phone told her she had been scheduled for jury duty on October 14, the day before her birthday. He said she had been hand-selected for a grand jury case involving medical malpractice, specifically because of her nursing background. That detail landed. Gail had spent her career in medicine. A medical malpractice case made sense. He told her she had signed a subpoena agreeing to appear, that she had failed to show, and that the judge did not take this lightly. 2 citations had been issued against her: contempt of court, failure to appear. She was then transferred to a man who identified himself as Police Captain John Bailey. He gave her a badge number, and at some point during the call, the voice on the other end of the line wished her a happy birthday. Then he said something Gail would remember long after the call was over. This is not your day. Gail is a nurse practitioner. She has spent her professional life making decisions under pressure, reading symptoms, acting quickly, staying calm when things go wrong. But a missed jury duty threat is not a medical emergency. It operates in a space where most people have no training and no instinct. As Gail later said, "I know medical things, but I didn't know how that worked." And that gap, the gap between confidence in one area and uncertainty in another, is where the scammer set up shop. He told her the fine was $9,260. That number matched what Gail had saved. He called the payment method a federal bonding kiosk. That phrase was designed to sound institutional. It was not. It referred to a Bitcoin machine inside a Circle K convenience store in Tempe. Gail did not know much about Bitcoin. Her son did, but the caller told her she could not contact anyone. "They said you cannot get off the phone with us," Gail later recalled. "You must stay on the phone the whole time." He told her there was a maintain contact order. He told her not to tell the bank what the money was for. He told her that if she did not comply, she could be arrested for trying to skip town. Every instruction served the same purpose: keep her afraid, keep her isolated, keep her moving toward that machine. Gail Barr was not being contacted by the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. She was being targeted by a government impersonation scam, one of the fastest growing fraud categories in the United States. Think of it as a locked room built entirely out of words. The scammer constructs 3 walls. The first wall is authority. He uses real names, real titles, real badge numbers, details anyone could find through a public records search or a county website. In Gail's case, the scammer pulled from 2 different levels of government that do not overlap. Jennifer Zips is a federal district court judge. The Maricopa County Sheriff's Office is a county agency. A federal judge would have nothing to do with county jury duty. But unless you happen to know the structure of Arizona's court system, that combination sounds completely plausible. The second wall is isolation. He tells the target not to hang up, not to call family, not to tell the bank. The moment the target speaks to anyone outside the room, the walls collapse. The third wall is urgency, arrest, contempt, right now, today. The only exit the scammer offers leads straight to a crypto ATM. That is where the money disappears. According to the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, government impersonation complaints nearly doubled between 2024 and 2025, rising from approximately 17,300 to nearly 32,500. Reported losses reached $797 million in 2025 alone. The FTC reported that impersonation scams overall, including both business and government, resulted in $2.95 billion in consumer losses in 2024. And in 2025, crypto ATM and kiosk fraud generated $389 million in reported losses across more than 13,000 complaints, a 58% increase over the year before. Adults over 60 accounted for the majority of those losses. Gail drove to the bank and withdrew $260 in cash. That was everything she had saved over roughly 18 months, money she had earned by coming out of retirement to cover her son's medical bills. She then drove to a Circle K in Tempe. Inside was a Bitcoin ATM, operated by a company called Bitcoin Depot. The scammer sent her a barcode that appeared to come from the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. She scanned it and started feeding cash into the machine. Arizona's new cryptocurrency kiosk license fraud prevention law, which had taken effect on September 26, 2025, just 19 days before Gail's birthday, set a daily transaction limit of $2,000 Yukons for new customers. The scammer knew about this limit. He had a workaround. He created 5 separate accounts and sent Gail 5 separate QR codes, one for each transaction. She stood in front of that machine, inserting cash 5 times, cycling through 5 accounts, while the voice on the phone stayed in her ear. "I was getting very tired. I was so tired," Gail later said. By the end, the machine had swallowed all $9,260, and that was money that I had worked for, she said. "I went back to work to help pay for my son's medical bills." The scammer was not finished. After Gail deposited the money, he told her to drive to the Maricopa County Sheriff's headquarters. While she was on her way, he informed her of a new problem. "A federal citation," he said. "This one would cost $12,000. Gail told him she did not have that kind of money. He lowered it to 3 zeros and dollars and directed her to another bank. She went inside. The bank manager asked what the money was for. Gail repeated the cover story the scammer had given her. But then the manager asked a different kind of question. He asked whether she planned to give the money to her son that day. Gail said no, and something in that moment broke through the wall. The manager took her aside. He talked with her. He could tell something was wrong. That conversation, in that bank, on that afternoon, stopped the scam from going any further. If the manager had not asked that question, Gail would have lost another $3,000 at minimum. The voice on the phone had plans for more. This is the part that most people do not think about. The scammer's goal was not a single payment. It was total extraction. As long as Gail stayed afraid and stayed isolated, the demands would have continued. Gail went home, She told her husband. She told her son. She sat with what had happened. When this whole thing was going on, it was like my brain was hijacked, she later told a reporter. I couldn't think clearly. And I'm still trying to figure that out. That phrase is worth pausing on. Gail Barr is not someone who struggles with thinking clearly. She is a nurse practitioner. She has spent decades reading situations, diagnosing problems, and keeping people alive. And yet a single phone call, constructed from publicly available names and designed to exploit the one area where she had no expertise, overrode every instinct she had built over a lifetime. This is what $9,260 looks like in a real person's life. It is not a statistic. It is a year and a half of shifts taken after retirement, earned specifically to help a son who needed medical treatment, now sitting in a Bitcoin wallet controlled by a stranger. If you have a parent, a neighbor, or a friend who might pick up a voicemail from someone claiming to be law enforcement and not know what to do next, remember this part of the story. Gail did something that many scam victims do not. She acted fast. She contacted the Tempe Police Department and filed a report. She contacted Bitcoin Depot, the company that operated the ATM. She filed a report with the Arizona Attorney General. And then she learned something that changed the outcome of her story. Arizona's cryptocurrency kiosk license fraud prevention law, House Bill 2387, had taken effect on September 26, 2025. It was signed after Arizonans reported losing a $177 million to cryptocurrency scammers the year before, according to Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays. The law requires crypto kiosk operators to display fraud warnings, issue transaction receipts, set daily transaction limits, and provide full refunds to new customers who report fraud within 30 days and provide a law enforcement report. Gail qualified. She had reported within the window. She had filed with both law enforcement and the kiosk operator. Bitcoin Depot issued the following statement to a local news outlet. We're very sorry for what this customer went through. Scams where criminals pretend to be law enforcement or government officials are heartbreaking and far too common across the country. The company said it complies with Arizona's new law and is registered with FinCEN. Gail received an express check in the mail for the full $9,260. It was a good birthday present, she said. But her story is the exception, not the rule. As of 2026, only 29 states had passed any form of crypto kiosk legislation, according to ARP. Many victims in states without these protections never recover a dime. There are more than 45,000 Bitcoin ATMs operating across the United States. They sit inside gas stations, convenience stores, and grocery stores, in the same places where people buy coffee and lottery tickets. And they are the final destination in a growing number of scams that start with a phone call and end with cash that cannot be traced or recovered. The mechanism that targeted Gail was a locked room built from authority, isolation, and urgency. The defense that breaks it has 3 steps. The label is simple enough to remember and say out loud. Hang up, look up, speak up. Step 1. Hang up the phone. If anyone calls and threatens you with arrest over a fine, hang up. No court in the United States resolves a legal matter by demanding immediate payment over the phone. No sheriff's office collects fines through a Bitcoin machine at a convenience store. The threat of arrest is the first wall. Hanging up demolishes it. Step 2. Look up the real number. Go to the official website for the agency the caller claimed to represent. Find the number yourself. Call that number and ask whether any legal matter exists under your name. Do not use the number left in the voicemail. Do not use the number texted to you. Look it up independently. That is the second wall gone. Step 3. Speak up. Before you move any money, tell one other person what just happened. A spouse, an adult child, a friend, a bank teller. Gail's scam ended the moment a bank manager asked her a simple question, and she answered honestly. That 10-second conversation broke through the fear that an hour of calculated manipulation had built. The scammer's entire operation depends on silence. Speaking to another human being is the single most powerful thing you can do. Remember the locked room. Authority, isolation, urgency. Those are the walls, and every one of them is made of words. They are not made of law. They are not made of fact. They are not made of power. They dissolve the moment you test them against reality. Gail Barr got her money back because Arizona happened to pass a law 19 days before her birthday. Most states have not passed that law yet. Most victims do not get a second chance. Gail chose to tell her story publicly, not because it was easy, but because she understood something that the scammer on the phone never counted on. The same fear that made her vulnerable could make someone else prepared. She told her story so that the next person who hears a voicemail from a fake deputy, or sees a barcode that looks official, or stands in front of a machine inside a Circle K, wondering whether this is really how the legal system works, might pause long enough to remember 3 words. Hang up, look up, speak up. If someone in your life is over 60, lives alone, or has ever said, "I would never fall for something like that," this might be the most important thing you send them today. Not as a warning, as a gift. The same kind of gift Gail's bank manager gave her on the afternoon of her 70th birthday, when he asked one quiet question and gave her the space to answer it honestly.